Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, thanks for checking me out. Today I'll be launching a 3D printed rocket as part of a test for a really dumb idea I've been working on. This is the third and final test before I attempt to shoot a drone out of the air while capturing video from both the drone and the rocket. Whatever happens today will be featured in this edition, as well as information on the design and progression of the rocket and associated launch equipment. There are an infinite number of things that can go wrong with today's test. I'd say I've got about a 50% chance at total success. This is an iteration of a rocket I designed and printed on my 3D printer. This will be the first attempt at recovering the rocket. This rocket is equipped with a parachute. The magazine here is designed to hold an Insta360 Go 2 camera. Today we're flying a dummy version of the camera, which is also 3D printed and weighs the same as the actual camera.
Hey, you know what I really love about YouTube? It gives me the chance to share my random, obscure, and potentially dangerous ideas with like-minded people from all over. I mentioned in the intro version 3.0 a test launch. That actually happened yesterday with a limited success. Actually, it was 75% successful. We're going to review that footage, and I'm going to talk a little bit about where we stand in the process. Hey guys, I got 3 cameras set up here. They are all recording at 4K at 60 frames per second, along with this one that I'm using. I'll use this to track the rocket once it launches. We're just about ready to go. Prior to looking at that footage, I want to show you footage from the prior 2 launches and give you some idea about where this is going. This is going to be a multi-part series under the label of Rocket versus Drone. I suspect there'll be at least 2 more videos forthcoming until we bring this to a pinnacle. The pinnacle will be shooting a drone out of the sky, capturing video from both the perspective of the drone looking down and from the rocket looking upwards. I want to give you some additional background. My interest in model rocketry goes back 50 years. I received a model rocket kit for Christmas one year. It was sparked an interest in rocketry, and previous to that, during the space race, I always had an interest in the man-moon missions, so it's always been something that's been of high interest to me. A couple years ago, I got into 3D printing. Around the same time, I was also flying a drone on a regular basis. I've got some videos that I posted on a prior YouTube channel, which I'll link in the description if you're interested in checking those out. I lost interest in flying the drone because the regulations became so extensive and the no-fly zones in my area are so extensive that there really aren't any interesting places that you can legally fly a drone anymore. At any rate, my plan is to use my knowledge of 3D printing and model rocketry and drones, combine those 3 to do something rather interesting. So that's the track we're on. The flight of version 1.0, that's this rocket here. I flew the identical rocket of this one in the first flight, and I had no expectation at all that this rocket would get off the ground and stay on course. I designed this more for style than for function. It uses 29mm rocket engine, either an E or F. Those engines are not readily available at your local hobby store. They have to be ordered special. They're not cheap. With shipping, they're about $15 each. But I was quite surprised at the performance of this rocket when it launched. I didn't expect it to recover. This nose cone was glued on, and there's no parachute, so I knew that it would go up and come down hard and that it would be unusable if I could even find it. As it turned out, it landed on top of a moving freight train, and it was not recovered. I also lit this with a cannon fuse, and I lit version 2.0 with the cannon fuse. I had not intended to do that for very long. Since then, I've constructed an electronic launcher, and I'm using electronic igniters to launch the rockets. Much safer, much more reliable. I'll talk about that a little later. So version 1.0, we're going to take a look at that footage. You'll see that it was successful. Then version 2.0, because this rocket is so heavy, it's 400 grams with the engine, and I'm adding this action camera, I knew I would need to take some weight out. So I redesigned the fins, and my brother-in-law Paul was visiting last week, and we launched version 2.0. We did not recover that rocket either. The area where we were launching is surrounded by woods, and that rocket did not have a parachute. We had a general idea where it came down. We searched for it, but we couldn't find it. Hey, if you're still watching, thanks a lot. We're going to roll into the footage from the 3 launches with minimal narration and minimal commentary. I've had a couple of questions about the 3D printing aspects of these rockets, and one question that I've had is, what is the cost? With 400 grams of filament, I'm using PLA, we're talking about roughly $11 or $12 worth of filament. 3D printing takes a long time. We'll talk about that in future videos that are going to be focused on 3D printing. I'm going to be adding 3D printing content to this channel on a regular basis. And of course, I already mentioned that the cost of the rocket motors is about $15. So not cheap. If you can recover the rocket, you should be able to relaunch it, so then you're only talking about the cost of the rocket motor. Stick around again to the end, and I'll have some final closing comments and a few tips. Now it's working. I don't know why it did that. Okay. So I'm going to get it from this angle. You get it from that angle. Hopefully I can light this by myself. Rocket version 3.0, I was very disappointed that I couldn't recover that rocket. It landed about 1,000 yards from where it was launched from. I watched it descend, I watched the parachute deploy, and I watched it float down. But it was in an area that I just couldn't access, and I could not retrieve the rocket. When the rocket left the guide rod, almost immediately it started moving at an angle. There was no wind, so this was clearly from the drag of the asymmetrical magazine that's sticking out on the side. And I'm going to have to redesign the rocket. I'm going to have to make sure that it's balanced on both sides, and I'm going to have to put some sort of aerodynamic covers protecting that and reducing the drag. Now I'll be ready for another test flight within a week. I'm looking forward to that. After that, if that's successful, then I'll be prepared to move forward, and I'll actually fly it with the camera. And then shortly after that, once I feel like I can anticipate where the rocket is going to go, I'll be ready to start taking shots at a drone. So I hope you come back and check out this progress that I'm having. One of the tips I have is regarding launching model rockets with cannon fuses. It's not a great idea. The problem is that it's unpredictable from the time you light the fuse to when the rocket's going to actually take off. A lot of things can happen in the area where you're launching. So therefore, it's a great idea to use some sort of a electronic launcher. You can either find directions for making one online, or you can buy them from hobby stores or people that sell model rocket supplies. I'll probably get some feedback and comments from model rocket Karens that are going to scold me for some of the things I did wrong. I don't intend to be unsafe. I took precautions, but obviously in hindsight, with launching without a recovery system or a parachute is potentially hazardous. Those rockets come down at terminal velocity, and if they happen to strike someone, that would be a bad situation. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you come back. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the comments section. Take care.